What's up, everybody? Welcome back to It Came From Beyond the Videostore Shelves here on the Clairview's Video YouTube channel. It's good to be back with you guys. It's been a while since we did a video. Unfortunately, the recording setup I used to use shit the bed. It all stopped working and it broke in like the worst time possible. Because we had Christmas coming up, and then my kids' birthdays are around this time of the year also. So it took a little while before I could put together a setup to get back to recording. But here we are. We was able to get a decent setup put together just to get us by until we could get something better. And we'll be back doing the podcast here. We're going to be doing episodes, probably about every other week, probably about 2 a month. If you're new here, what this podcast is all about is I go through all of the movies in my massive VHS collection, and I watch stuff that I've never seen before. And then I come on here and talk to you guys a little bit about the movie and what I thought about it. And today we have another horror movie. We're going to the 1990s. We're going to check out a French horror movie this time called The Evil Within. At least here it was called that. And what you'll see a lot with kind of, import movies is sometimes they'll run into problems with naming and stuff like that. So they'll have to adapt another name whenever they import these movies to different markets, whether it be some kind of copyright issue or whatnot. This particular release, The Evil Within, this is a Apex VHS. This is from 1994. It is a unrated release, which is pretty important, and we'll get to that later in the video. But this movie actually came out in 1990. It took 4 years for them to import this particular release to the United States. What the original working title of this film is Blood Baby. So it came out in 1990 as Blood Baby in France. And then, they would release different titles, different releases over the next 4 or 5 years in different markets. So, and when you come across movies like this, it's kind of hard to find information on them, because if you look up Evil Within from 1994, technically there is no Evil Within from 1994. This is actually Blood Baby from 1990. Just with a different name, most likely due to some kind of copyright issue or whatever that these companies had. And you'll see that that's pretty common with foreign movies. Anyway, let's get into what The Evil Within or Blood Baby was all about. So basically, you have this woman. Her name is Bianca, and she works with a traveling circus. And she's dating the guy who owns this circus. And this dude's a huge piece of shit. He's aggressive. He's beating on her all the time. The guy's just a prick. I'm sure all of you kind of know somebody that's like that. The dude's just a fucking dickhead. And, the movie starts out with this circus is going to buy a leopard to add to the show. So the movie starts with, in Africa, and you see them kind of boxing up this leopard, and they ship this leopard out to the circus. But when the leopard gets there, it's acting strange. The leopard's being really aggressive. The other big cats that they have at this show, the lions and tigers and all this kind of bullshit, they're starting to act weird since the leopard got there. Everything's like at an unrest since this big cat arrived. And so out of nowhere, over like the next day or so, this leopard fucking explodes and just blows the fuck up and this monster, fucking tentacle like black snake creature, crawls out of this leopard's body, and it crawls across this circuit, and it finds its way to Bianca's trailer where she's asleep. And this snake monster crawls up her leg and into her vagina. And Bianca doesn't know what's going on, but she wakes up with morning sickness. So she decides to go to the doctor, where she finds out that she's pregnant. But what she doesn't know yet is Bianca isn't pregnant. Bianca has this demon thing inside of her. This snake creature crawls inside of her, and it's using Bianca's body kind of like a incubation chamber. So Bianca decides that she doesn't want to fucking be with this prick, right? She doesn't want to be at the circus with this fucking asshole that beats on her all the time. So she decides that she's going to rob the circus. So she takes all the money that she could find, and she hauls ass, and she's going to raise this baby by herself. But that's when the movie starts to kind of get a little weird, and we're gonna kind of talk about that over the course of this video too. This is kind of an out there movie. It's strange, and it's just an out there premise, and out there shit happens. Almost kind of like a David Lynchian type film, which isn't something that I usually enjoy. I usually don't like the stuff that's just kind of weird and out there. But anyway, Bianca starts communicating with this thing that's living inside of her. They start talking to each other like telepathically. And this monster tells Bianca that it needs blood to be born, that it wants her to kill people and drink their blood in order to feed this creature so he could eventually, be born into the world. And that's exactly what Bianca begins to do. She starts luring guys away with her titties and murdering them. And, she kind of has a love-hate relationship with doing this. And it goes back and forth. Like, she'll go from, she fucking hates this thing and she wants to, like, stab herself in the belly and kill this, whatever it is, living inside of her. And then she'll have other moments where she's excited and she's happy to kill people and feed this thing. It even gets as strange to, at one point, she's having a conversation with this thing inside of her, and she tells it that, it turns her on whenever it moves around. She says, I could feel you moving around inside of me, and it gets me horny, which is fucking weird. And she keeps going back and forth from, like, wanting to kill people and wanting to feed this thing to not wanting to. And, she kind of battles with that as she makes her way, across, towns, just murdering random guys and shit. And, her ex-boyfriend too, he gets it as well. But, and that's another thing about this movie. I've never been to France, but Evil Within makes it seem like every man in France is, like, super rapey. Because it's like every guy that she comes across is, like, stalking her to make her have sex with them. Like, every one of them, they all come off as, like, super super rapey, which I thought was kind of a weird place to go. But anyway, she's running around, she's killing people, and this thing is kind of telling her its master plan, which is it has to be born and it's gonna go into the ocean, and it's gonna live in the ocean until it's able to evolve, and it's gonna evolve and crawl onto land and take place of mankind. So, it's gonna go through the whole evolutionary period over the next thousands of years or whatever, and it's going to replace mankind. So this creature's convincing Bianca to take him to the ocean. So whenever he's born, he could go into the water and start his, you know, crusade, I guess you would call it, to overtake mankind. And like throughout the whole movie, she's just battling with whether or not she wants to help this thing, and whether or not, you know, what her feelings are towards this monster thing that's growing inside of her. And it all kind of comes to a point which really honestly kind of shocked me, whenever she finally gives birth to this thing, because I was not expecting her to give birth to a normal looking, human baby, which is eventually what happened. So she ends up giving birth to this thing, and it's a human baby, which fucking shocked me. I was not expecting this thing to come out looking normal. And it kind of I hit a point watching this film where I was like, maybe all this shit was in Bianca's head. Maybe she was just fucking psycho, and killing all these people for nothing. And she was just pregnant, and she just gave birth to a normal child, which is kind of a cool twist that I did not see coming. And when you watch as many movies as I do, you kind of get to where you could, you kind of know what's coming whenever you watch a film. You kind of figure it out before it hits those events. And I did not see this coming at all. But anyway, it is short lived. So she gives birth to this baby, and they're driving in this car she stole, and the baby's crying, and she's pleading with this baby to talk to her, but of course the baby's not going to talk to her. It's a baby. And the car breaks down, so she pulls into this gas station to try to get a mechanic to look at this car, to figure out what's wrong with this car for her. And meanwhile, she gets out of the car, she runs in this gas station, and there's a hitchhiker walking, and he hears the baby crying in the car because Bianca left the baby in the car. So he goes to poke his head through the window to kind of see what's up, and this fucking baby attacks him and starts eating his ass. And Bianca looks back through the front window of the store and sees this guy's fucking legs kicking out the window. So she runs outside to check on him. And when she opens the car door, this guy's lower torso falls out, as well as the baby's skin. So this demon shed the baby's skin, so like a little baby suit hit the fucking ground, And which I thought was weird, because it's like, your whole thing is he had to go to the ocean to be able to evolve over the course of thousands of years to come on land and replace man. But you were born as what appeared to be a human baby. So you're born as a baby, and then you would go backwards, and then you would have to evolve back forwards, which kind of didn't make sense to me. But that aside, Bianca notices there's this trail of like fucking pus and blood and shit leading from the car, from the baby skin, and it's heading to this bus. So Bianca, at this point, she could be like, well, fuck everything. This is finally over. This thing's out of me. It's fucking gone. I could just, go on with my life, and just forget about it. But that's not what Bianca does. She decides that she's going to follow this trail, and she's going to go for whatever reason and be with this creature thing. So she goes and she follows this trail on this bus, and she gets on this bus of football players who, in over the course of looking to see where this thing is hiding, she wakes all these football player guys up on this bus who all decide that they're gonna like fucking gangbang her. again, the guy, every dude in this movie is like super rapey for some reason. So, now she's on this bus full of dudes. They're about to rape her, and all of a sudden this creature busts out and starts killing people. And I give it props for actually showing what this thing looks like. Basically, it looked like a giant lobster without a shell, and it had all these fucking tentacles and shit. But the lobster creature is eating the fucking bus driver. So the bus is fucking spinning out of control and shit. And Bianca runs and she grabs the steering wheel of the bus to regain control of it. And then she makes eye contact with this fucking creature, and then just decides to flip flop again, and she wrecks this fucking bus, in an attempt to murder everybody, including herself, to I guess to stop this thing from taking over the world or whatever. But it doesn't work because this movie ends with a bloody and battered and beaten creature crawling and finally making its way into the ocean. So, apparently now this thing's just hanging around in the ocean waiting to evolve and take over mankind. But yeah, that is pretty much the evil within. And I would probably I'm gonna give this movie a 4 out of 10. And there's a couple reasons why it's so low, and there's also a couple reasons why I'm not gonna rate it higher. And the main reason being is, again, this was a French film. The English dub on this is really fucking horrible. It is not a good dub at all, and it really throws you off when you're watching the film, or at least it threw me off big time. It's one of those dubs that's so bad to where, like, if certain words didn't translate over, instead of like replacing them, they just said fuck it, and they just left so much shit out that it was not a good dub. And I've watched a lot of dub movies, and this is definitely on the poor side of that spectrum. So much so that, as someone who can't fucking I cannot stand subtitles. I hate them. But I think this movie would have been much better reading subtitles. So if you do try to watch Evil Within or Blood Baby, depending on what release you find, I do know that I believe Kino put out a Blu-ray of this. I highly recommend just watching the original audio with subtitles on. The dub is fucking horrible, man. It really took me out of the movie. And because this movie's weird, man. And I don't really get into weird movies too much. But that being said, the saving grace to this film was the murder scenes and the gore. The film was shot really fucking well. I can attest to the audio because this was a dub and it was a shitty dub. But as far as camera work, cinema wise, the fucking movie looked really well, and the gore and the effects was done fucking excellently. And it was fucking great. They did a great job on the gore and shit. And that's another reason why I pointed out that this particular tape is unrated. Because from what I gather, and I'm not sure if it's under the Evil Within name or the Blood Baby name, but apparently there is a rated R release to this film that was released in the United States as well, where they cut all the fucking gore out. Do not get fooled into watching that version. The gore is what saved this fucking movie from being a pile of shit, honestly. Yeah, just awesome fucking scenes. In fact, one of my favorite kills in the whole movie. Bianca gets in this wreck and she apparently dies for a little while. So these EMTs pick her up, and she's in this ambulance, which is really just like a station wagon. It's not like a big box, a traditional ambulance would look like. It's like a station wagon thing. So they have one paramedic is driving, and the other paramedic is in the back with Bianca, working on her or whatever. And, she dies. So the paramedic just is like, okay, well, she's dead. He tells the other guy, you don't have to be in a hurry. She didn't make it. So, he goes sit down and he's reading a fucking comic book. And then it cuts to this little montage where the monster's talking to Bianca and she's not answering. And he's like, oh shit, you died. I'm not ready to be born yet. So he restarts Bianca's heart and she comes to. And this whole time, this guy's just reading this fucking comic book. He doesn't realize that she's awake now. So she grabs this fucking oxygen mask and holds it over the guy's face and blows him up like a fucking balloon until he explodes everywhere, which looked fucking great. And so the other guy that's driving the car is hearing all this shit going on, in the back area. So he pulls over to go check on it. And when he opens the hatch, there's Bianca like covered in fucking blood and intestines and shit. And without saying a word, she just starts bashing his fucking face in with this oxygen tank, man. I mean, they show everything. And it's decent effects. Not only do they show it, but the shit looks good. The effects still hold up. This is one of the films that I could say, like, the majority of the effects and the gore in this movie looks pretty fucking good. It looks pretty believable. When you go back and watch some of these films, you kind of think the shit that they try to pass off is like, man, that does not look even close to being real. This shit looks pretty close. They do a really good job. And then there was a bunch of cool scenes like that. So you would really be doing yourself a disservice to watch the rated R cut of this. Be sure you find the unrated version. That being said, I did enjoy the movie. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the watch. It wouldn't be something that I watch again, mainly because just the shitty dub. It kind of took me out of it a little bit. If this was like a native English film, or if it had a better quality dub, it would definitely be, 6, maybe 6.5 on the scale of, a good movie. But it's still super watchable, man. And if you guys are into horror, especially if you like the kind of out there stuff, like a David Lynch, like a Eraserhead or something like that, that's just kind of strange and weird, you would really enjoy Evil Within. I do recommend watching it at least one time, because it was a cool movie. And it kind of also, really shows what I enjoy about doing this podcast. It forces me to watch films that I just normally wouldn't watch in the collection, And this is one, if it wouldn't be for this big ass previously owned for sale sticker on the cover of this movie, this would have probably been a tape that I donated or gave away or traded to somebody, because the cover art on this movie is fucking horrible. I mean, whoever was in charge of doing this cover art did not do this movie justice. If I walked into a video store and I saw this on the shelf, I would never pick this up. There's nothing attractive about this cover whatsoever. And, it's really sad, because what this cover screams to me would be like 90s era indie cheap shit looking movie. It's not the case. The movie was actually done really well, even though I didn't care for the dub much. But if this was France, where this would be my native language, it would be fucking a great movie. But yeah, they did not do this movie any justice with this cover, man. They could have did so much better on cover art. Yeah, I don't even know when I got this movie or how long I had it. this is definitely not something that I would have walked into like a thrift store or something and purchased. I'm sure I got this in some kind of bulk buy where I bought a bunch of movies at one time. And yeah, I would have never in a million years watched this movie just because the fucking cover sucks so bad. So yeah, it kind of, reminded me that you really should just kind of check out a little bit of everything, man. Even if maybe the cover is not so great, you never know. You never know what's gonna be a good fucking movie, and this was a pretty good movie, man. So yeah, I shouldn't judge these books by the covers, I guess, And The Evil Within is well worth a watch, man. So yeah, thank you guys for watching, man. I'm super excited to be back and to be doing these videos again. Let me know if you've ever watched this. If you ever watched The Evil Within / Blood Baby, let me know what you thought about it. And yeah, until next time, man, you guys be good. And I'll see you guys later.